Hey everybody, Mobile Gamers Unite. So I want to talk about rolling enhancements, alright? And this one might get, I'm sure I'll catch some hate for this because we're going to be talking about Leon. Everybody knows who Leon is, Langrisser, okay? The highest damaging unit in the game right now. And no matter what I say about Leon and his stats, there's going to be some people that are for it, there's going to be some people against it, so I just need to state right now that this is all just my opinion. That's all it is, alright? But pretty much what I want to talk about is there's really two different kinds of ways to roll for your enhancements. And we're using Leon as an example because he's so clear cut in this, alright? And what I mean by that is, here's my Leon. And I'm sure you guys have seen this Leon is 420 power, okay? And if we look at his stats, my Leon has 830 attack. That's not that much, okay? There's a lot of Leons out there. With his fusion and everything, all that good stuff going for him, my Leon is at like 1240 attack. And that's not high for Leon at all. I would like to point out though that he is using the Y branch. And if you thought his attack was low, I rolled 15% attack on this thing, alright? But this thing does ignore 15% of the enemy's defense, which doesn't help you that much in early content because when you're fighting something that has 100 defense, you're only ignoring 15 of it. But level 65 content, when you're attacking things that have 1,000 defense, well, now your defense is only 850 if my Leon's attacking you because I'm ignoring 150 of it. So he does have that going for him. But you will see a lot of Leons that have 1800 attack. I'm sure there's a few out there that are in the 2K right now. They're running around with 2000 attack, and I know that looks wicked, and I've had my Leon like that. I re-rolled him into this. My Leon lost some attack power, but his total power actually went through the roof. And the reason for that is, and I think this is where you need to really start thinking about balance, alright? Balancing your enhancements. Because a lot of people will tell you for Leon, roll attack. Just get his attack up, okay? And what people will do then is they will roll on their armor, and on armor, you're only going to be able to get 5% attack. So that's what they're aiming for. They don't care about any other stat except for attack. So they will roll until they get 3-4% on their armor, and they will roll till they get 4-5% on their headpiece. And whatever other stats they get along with it, as long as they're getting the attack, they don't care. And that's how you see Leon's at 2000 attack. But what you should note is the rest of Leon's stats. Your Leon might have 2000 attack, but if he's running around with 300 armor and if he has 4000 hit points, then I could understand why my Leon would have a higher power level when mine has, well, how many hit points does this guy have? Almost 8,000, okay? So, and I see Leons with 6,000. But their attack is a lot higher than mine. Now let me be the first one to say, Leon's a special character, he can hit and run, okay? And if you're really good at playing him, you can avoid a lot of unnecessary combat. But there's always going to be maps where no matter where you move Leon, he's going to get assaulted next by a few units. And typically, a Leon like mine can survive that. And Leons with 2000 attack and 200 defense are not going to be able to survive that. So in a perfect world where you could always get Leon to hit and run, and you could always get him to a good spot on the map, back into your tank's range, or into some cover and you don't have to worry about being retaliated against, I would say, yeah, go balls to the wall. Roll nothing but attack. But for PvE especially, and a lot of these maps where you're just fighting hordes and hordes of enemies, you know what? I know my Leon, at the end of his turn, he can get attacked by a few mobs. He's going to kill them all, and he just might survive and give me the chance to heal him up or do something with him. And this Leon has been tested. I'm clearing level 65 content, and a lot of times I run without a healer. And I can do that because my Leon is built like this. You can take a couple hits. Important to note, when my Leon moves up 3 blocks and he is attacking, he's got like, I've seen him with like 600, almost 700 defense when he's attacking somebody. That's as much as a lot of tanks have. Now, of course, you're not going to have that defense when somebody's attacking you, but I mean, that goes a long way because a lot of times we have to attack things that also have a super high attack. And whoever you send in there first is probably going to get creamed. That's why I think Luna has like Pegasus Knights where, you know, they have an 80% chance to only take 50% damage when you're attacking. That's because you want Luna to go in there first and soften up your enemy. Kill a bunch of his troops, so then you can send one of your attackers in there that might not have the highest defense, because you don't want to get into a situation where you send your attacker in there but your enemy at full health, he's got a high attack too, and he wipes you out. You do some damage to him, but your character's lost. That's the last thing you want to happen to Leon. You want him to hit, retreat, and you want him to be able to hit again. And again, guys, I'm just using Leon here as an example because I see so much of this. All right. The other thing too, I mean, this is pretty much a finished Leon for me, and a lot of people are going to disagree with this because he doesn't have 1700 attack. If we go into my bonds, yeah, he's not fully bonded, but he's, let's see, where's he at? He's in like 80%, something like that. Okay, he's at 83% bond. This Leon will never have 2000 attack. Alright, he's already 83% bonded out. But I gotta say, Leon with 1250 attack, ignoring 15% of armor, I've been clearing level 65 content just fine. Now, I will say this. For a boss fight, for hitting a dragon, okay, I could totally see why you would want 1700 attack. But when fighting a bunch of strong mobs, I would rather have my Leon built this way. And really, even against a dragon, my Leon's not taking as much damage, and he's got a lot of hit points. And then also, I find, and this is personally me, the bigger your Leon's hit point pool is, the more effective vampire bats can be. Alright, and the higher your defense is too, because you're taking less damage, you got a bigger health point pool, and I think that benefits vampire bats as well. I think if you're really investing into vampire bats, you need to go into your flyer trees, and you need to invest into hit points and defense, because the more hit points vampire bats have, and the less damage they take, and the bigger pool they have to play with, that makes them a lot harder to kill. Right, they're taking less damage and they have a bigger hit point pool and they're life stealing. So it kind of, you know, since I run my Leon with vampire bats, this is the preferred build that I have found for him. And if we actually look at his gear, the Y branch, of course, for your weapon, you can roll 15% attack, right? I mean, if you're trying to roll defense on a weapon for some dumb reason, which I could understand maybe for a tank, I think you could only roll 5% defense. So, you know, my Leon with his low attack, I mean, I got lucky as hell on the Y branch getting 15% attack on it. And the reason I'm really happy with it is because it also has 7% hit points and it has 111 hit points. Leon's hit points is still an A stat. So if I sacrificed all those hit points, his power would go down a lot. But really for his weapon, yeah, I was trying to go for an attack roll, and that makes sense. But then for his armor, magic defense 11%, which I actually kind of was hoping to get a defense 11%, but I left the magic defense 11% on there just in case he gets hit with some AoEs and stuff. That can't hurt. Leon's defense is pretty freaking high when he's attacking something. Like I said, this one gets up to like 700. And then again, hit points 9%, hit points 97. Hit points are important to me. There's no attack in here. And a lot of people will tell you just roll all attack. And then we have the Reaper's Breath. Defense 10, magic defense 6%, hit points 13%. That's a big deal to me. That is why I kept this roll. Would I switch this for 5% attack and 5%? No, I wouldn't. I'm not gonna trade 5% of an S stat for 13% of an A stat, especially when you're talking about hit points and stuff like that. And then of course we have the accessory, the Lone Star Amulet. This I do want to reroll. I do want to try to get as much attack as I can out of this, and really crit doesn't do that much for Leon, but this has hit points 10% on it, and it does give at least 10 attack. But this is the item that I will be re-rolling on for Leon. I would like to get, I think on an accessory you can get 15% attack. I would like to get a high percentage on the attack for this item. And that's just the way that I see it. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because I did have my Leon set up a different way, where all I did is go for attack with him, and I ended up re-rolling, and this is what I ended up with. And I'm just telling you guys why I re-rolled. So you might want to look through some of your characters and see if that's the case. You might be able to actually get more out of a character. 4% hit point, 14 attack, and 6% defense. Ooh. Yeah, no, can't justify that. Yeah, we might as well do some rolls since we are talking about it. I have a few of these scrolls. I'm not seeing a percentage to the attack, and that's what I really want on here, because it's kind of hard to compete with 10% hit points. Ooh. And like I said, crit doesn't do much for him. So there, at least you guys got to watch me try to roll some stats. We didn't get anything better, but what are you gonna do? But the reason I'm talking about Leon here is because I see this a lot with Leon, and people neglect his other stats. They go, just for attack. And yeah, you can see a Leon with 1700 attack. He's going to have a less overall power than my Leon. My Leon's going to have 3,000 more hit points than his, and 100 more armor. That does make a big difference when you're talking about really, really strong mobs. Some of these level 65 mobs where they just have ridiculous enhancements on them, well, buffs, whatever you want to call them, and you're not just going to be able to one-shot everything. They've made that level so you can't just one-shot shit. You're gonna get hit back, and you have to find a way to deal with it. Well, that's when having an extra 4,000 hit points and 700 defense instead of 350, that's when that really benefits you, and I've been seeing it more and more. So don't get caught up in the whole just roll attack. Yeah, definitely roll attack on attack applicable items, your weapons, your accessories. You can get a 15% attack roll, and you can also get a flat value attack to go along with it. In a perfect world, this Y branch that I have, I would roll 15% attack and 30 attack and 10% hit points. Hell, I'll take it. But it's not a perfect world. I only managed to get 15% attack, and I was happy enough with that. People that are trying to match up a percentage and a flat value of the stat that they want, I mean, I'm sure it's possible, it's doable, but remember, rolling this stuff takes a lot of gold and a lot of resources, and you have to have those scrolls. So make them count, all right? So this might be a good chance for everybody to kind of look over some of their characters and, really think about what can benefit that character the most, because dropping your S stat by a little bit to double all your A stats might be a good idea. Okay? And I will vouch for this Leon, this 1250 attack Leon. He does clear content. He does great. And like you guys know me, I like to run parties sometimes without a healer if I can get through. And units like this help me do it because Leon's got Vampire Bat, so he can heal himself. He also has Chivalry, so he can heal himself. That's why I put the NA's armor on him, because received heal effects 10%, and this guy has his own heal built in with Vampire Bats. I personally think that if you're not working on your hit point pool and you're neglecting it, you're kind of gypping yourself, right? Because you're taking away from the amount that a character can potentially heal in a turn. If your character has 2,000 hit points, the most he's ever going to be able to heal in a turn is 2,000 hit points. Mine's got 8. He's going to be able to heal more, and he's going to be able to hold on to more of it. It just makes sense to me. Yours is going to have 1,700 attack, and I get that. Maybe, and I could totally see where 1,700 attack would be beneficial. I would love for my Leon to have 1,700 attack against a dragon, or somebody that I can actually hit and run and get out of dodge and not get retaliated against. And Leon's really good at that, right? And I think that's why there's people that will roll for the 5% attack on the armor and not care about anything else, because they don't plan on ever really having Leon get assaulted by everybody. But with some of these maps that they're coming out with, I mean, you kill the boss and enemies just teleport right next to you. Like, they set you up so that you're going to have to deal with mobs and stuff like that. So my advice is try to think three-dimensional about stats. Don't just think about only an S stat. Look around at some of the other stats that that character has and really think about the full potential of that character and how he works, especially if it's a character that has lifesteal, that can use Vampire Bats, things of that nature. You want to give them a big pool to add health to and to steal health with. And I mean, you want to give them a pretty good defense to be able to hold on to some of that health. So this is my rant on throwing enhancements and rolling for enhancements. Like I said, remember, you're only going to be able to get the 15% attack on your weapon and your accessory. For your armor and your helm, I think for your armor you can get 15% defense. I'm sure you can get maybe 15% hit points. And the helm too, and the same thing with magic defense. Right, because your weapon and your accessory are offensive items, and your armor and your headpiece, they're more defensive items. So it would just make sense that you can roll higher defensive stats on your armor than you could your weapon. Now, if I'm wrong about any of this or just off a little bit, I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments, but this is the way that I see it from my point of view. And if I've said anything about Leon to piss anybody off, I'm sorry. This is just my opinion, and this has just been what's been working for me and for my Leon, right? And this doesn't just have to go for Leon. There's a lot of different characters that can benefit from maybe losing a little bit of their S stat and gaining a lot of some of their A stats. I just used Leon as an example because I see this so often with him. And yeah, I look at other Leons, and especially when they have 2,000 attack, first thing I'm going to look at is, well, what's their other stats? If I could find a Leon out there that had 1,700 attack and still had the same amount of hit points that mine did and the defense, yeah, you better believe I'd be sending that dude a message being like, well, what did you do? How'd you do that? All right? Now, at the same time, this Leon's only 80% bonded. He still has a little ways to go, but I don't see this Leon getting to 1,700 attack. And I'm perfectly fine with that. He works for me. He's been doing great. So that's just what I think about it. All right? And same thing with Bernie. With Bernie, let's pull up my Bernie reel here real quick. Obviously, for Bernie, because he's a tank, his attack is an A stat. which is really nice for Bernie, but his hit points and his defense are an S stat. Does that mean that I want to roll his weapon to have hit points and defense? No, because you're only going to be able to get 5% defense on a weapon. I don't know how many hit points you can get on it. Maybe somebody can clarify that, but I know you can only get 5% defense on a weapon. So this Bernie having 5% defense on his weapon isn't going to be as good as him having, I don't know, like 10% attack and 15 flat attack. You're going to be better off rolling attack on weapons, and you're going to be better off rolling defense on armor. And of course, for Bernie's armor, he's got 122 hit points, 6 defense, but that 10% hit points, which is important for a tank. Same thing with the helm. 15% hit points, which I absolutely love, 88 hit points, and 6% defense, because his defense is an S stat too. So really, this helm is giving this Bernie more power, I think, than any other item as far as enhancements go. I don't know, the Bloodline Magic Armor might be close because it's 10% hit points and it's 122 hit points. I think the most hit points you can get is like 200 something. So, and then Apex Boots, 9% attack, magic defense 5, and attack 12. And I even thought about maybe re-rolling this, but I'm pretty happy with this. As far as I'm concerned, getting around 10% attack and getting a flat attack value over 10 is hard enough as it is to get. So instead of trying to get a few more and wasting 1,000 scrolls and 100,000 million bajillion gold, I would rather go to some of my other characters and try to get a few decent rolls there. But hey, that's how I'm doing my account. Everybody's welcome to do theirs however they want. Nothing I'm saying is etched in stone. I'm just giving you guys my spin on it and what I think. And this Bernie has done me great. I'm actually really happy with this Bernie. So, and I've changed both of their rune sets, Bernie and Leon, because I did have Bernie with more attack on him, and I actually found no, he's way more effective, obviously, with more hit points, more defense. He gets to live longer to spam more of his damage. Like this Bernie's damage or his attack could be twice as high. But if he dies on turn 3, what good is that to me? Right? Right now, this Bernie can stay alive for the full battle and he gets his attack in every turn. He's gonna do more damage with half the attack but double the defense and hit points because he's gonna be around for the full fight to damage people every turn. And that's us looking at Bernie as an attacker. Bernie is a tank, so of course I want his hit points and his defense up there. But yeah, I'll definitely take the attack. It's still an A stat for him. Alright? And then we have units like Basil, who need magic defense. And for units like Basil, it's somewhat of an exception because these units that use magic defense as their attack, and they're primarily probably going to be dueling with other mages, yeah, I could totally see really going for magic defense because that magic defense is really getting used as 2 stats. And they might as well both be an S stat, right? Your mage needs magic defense to fight other mages, and Basil needs magic defense to scale his intelligence up. So for Basil, I would say probably try to get as much magic defense as you can. Try to get magic defense on your weapon if you can. Try to get that 5%, because that 5% magic defense for Basil might as well be 10%, because it's applying to his damage, his intelligence, and it's applying to his magic defense, and it's going to make him take a lot less magic damage. And, Baz is a mage killer. So there's characters like that. They definitely have an edge for getting to use 1 stat as 2. Like, Luna is another great example of that. Her magic defense is used for her attack, and that is why Luna is such an easy character to power up, even with just SR gear. The girl stats can go through the roof. She's carried my alt account She was one of the first SSRs I got, and I was very happy about that because I knew Luna alone could carry that account to a high power level just off of SR gear because she gets to scale with magic defense. She gets to scale her actual attack up. But there's only select few characters that do that. Basil, Luna, I think also Lestelle, sweet Granny Lestelle. You know, so there's those characters that do that, but as far as the other characters go, where you kind of have to roll your stats fair and square, and what you get is what you got, that's my suggestion, is really look at their primary stats and their secondary stats, and really ask yourself, is it worth sacrificing a lot of secondary stats for a little bit of a primary stat? And a lot of times the answer is going to be no. So I use Leon as an example because I honestly think that a lot of time having your Leon's attack be higher than other Leons is really like a status symbol thing. Like, oh, you got Leon too? Mine's at 2,000 attack. And hey, that's cool, man. Props to you for even getting his attack that high. That's really cool to see, okay? But I will leave my Leon this way, and my Leon has lost some attack, and honestly, I wouldn't go back to how it was because he is more effective. I'm having an easier time clearing content. Yeah, his attack looks a little bit more humble, but don't worry about it. This boy can hit, you know. And really, my Leon at 1,250 attack might as well have 1,400 attack because he does ignore some armor, so I have that going for him. And like I said, that is more valuable to me in the higher content when I'm fighting things that have 1,000 defense. So then we have units like Altamuller. And Altamuller has last rites. And when you have a piece of gear like last rites, you can kind of start to build a character around that piece of gear. Last rites, as long as you're at full hit points, is going to reduce the damage that you take by 40%. That's wicked, because Altamuller can constantly keep himself healed just off of his own healing. So it's very easy for him to stay at 100% hit points, especially if you work on his defense and his hit points. If he's got a high defense, he's not taking that much damage, it's really easy for him to heal right back up to full off of his own healing. And then guess what? He's only going to take 60% of the damage that you're dishing out. So being able to get that ability to proc all the time, in my opinion, if you have last rites, your defense becomes more important. Because if your defense is higher and you're only taking a little bit of damage, you're going to be able to heal right back up to full, and you're going to take 40% less damage from whoever's trying to attack you. Now that I've been playing with last rites, to me that's the whole world. I would, and I have dropped his attack down a little bit just to get more defense and more hit points, and I absolutely love my Altamuller. He does great. He's not at 6,000, but he will be. He's a unit that I'm working on right now. So, and he's a good example of how an item can change a character. And like, for instance, if I didn't have last rites on him, I probably wouldn't roll the enhancements that I did. I would go more or less for his S stat. I mean, on the Devil X, I did get 10% attack, but I really kept it because there's 7% hit points along with it. And hit points is really, really good for Altamuller, so we can have a large hit point pool, especially when he's with Vampire Bats. Loki's Mask has hit points. A little bit of attack, hit points. Right? I mean, I could sacrifice all this and try to get 5% attack. Attack is his S stat, but I honestly think I would be gypping myself. And then we have the Slayer's emblem. Attack 6%, attack 10, magic defense 8. This is one that I will be re-rolling. I will try to I'm either going to try to get like 10 or 15% attack and some hit points, or something better than this. But obviously this item's still being worked on. It's only level 30. Last rites, hit points, attack, hit points. So that just goes to show you guys, this character in particular, he kind of got rebuilt around this item. He's made to activate last rites as often as possible. And if you look at his rune set, it's steel. 10% more hit points, and damage taken decreased by 10%. Well, okay, so I'm taking 10% less damage from this, and I'm taking 40% less damage from last rites. You're only doing half damage to me. As long as I can heal that up and get back up to 100, I can keep applying that 6 damage reduction, and then Altamüller becomes an effing nightmare to deal with. So this is a good example of how one item can actually kind of change some of the enhancements that you want to roll for a character. Alright, so this is my opinion. This is my guide on rolling enhancements. This is how I've been doing it. If anybody would like to critique any of this, I'm open to suggestions. If anybody has any good ideas, I'm the first in line to listen. Alright, thank you guys for sitting through my video. Hit like, hit subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have an awesome day. And if anybody out there has any better idea for rolling something, or if I missed something, leave me a comment, let me know. Alright, input is always welcome. Alright, I'm trying to learn about this game just like the rest of you are, and that's why we do this. That's why we make these videos and stuff. You know, this game's still fairly new. There's not a lot of support for this game. This kind of reminds me of the dark ages of Final Fantasy Brave Exvius when it first came out, and you didn't know what from what, and everybody was just trying to Google search anything they could. So, like I said, you want to leave me a comment and give me your input. I'm very good at taking corrective criticism, especially if I learn something from it. I'll give you props and everything, and I'll throw it up to you. So, if you guys have anything to add to this, or if there's anything I missed, please leave a comment, alright? And be polite, because I always am. Mobile Gamers Unite, you guys have an awesome day. Go look through your enhancements and really think about what I said. And hey, there might be something, just something, that you could switch around that could actually really help you out with performance. Don't always just get caught up on that one stat. It's nice to have a high attack, but I've noticed that in Langrisser especially, like, there's a lot of content that it really pays to have a super high defense. A lot of the timeless trials, you know, a lot of people will tell you, get a really strong tank, put it next to a Tierras, and there you go. So that is another thing I like about this game. It's not all attack based. There's a lot of very nifty things you can do in this game with a high defense, a bunch of damage reduction stacked up. Alright, so I'm just trying to open some people's minds up and maybe help some people out in the long run. And hey, maybe some people can help me out. Maybe somebody can point something out that I missed, or I overlooked, or I didn't think about, and maybe somebody can help me out. And if you do, I will be so happy and so appreciative, and I'll definitely give you a shout out. Mobile Gamers Unite, everybody have an awesome day. Your boy's one click away. Peace, everybody.